Up and Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Thursday edition, Up and Adam. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Adam Montiel. Well, the case that stunned a college town, but not only that, captivated an entire nation, just took a massive turn. Bryan Kohberger, the former criminology student accused of the savage murders of 4 University of Idaho students, pled guilty less than 24 hours ago, avoiding the death penalty and sealing his fate with 4 consecutive life sentences. But behind his plea, really behind the headlines, questions that still kind of reverberate, questions about it just, doesn't feel like this ended cleanly, Joining us later in the show, Howard Blum. We talked to him a year ago, New York Times bestselling author, 2-time Pulitzer nominee, and the man behind the quintessential book, the book when it comes to this case. It's called When the Night Comes Falling, a Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders. He's been called the definitive voice on the case, no doubt. With the plea just 24 hours old, he's all over the news, and he's going to be on the show to talk about it. I'm super stoked. It's going to be rad. So, Howard Blum coming up in real time later on today, Up and Adam. All right, let's talk about the fire, the latest. What started yesterday afternoon along Highway 166 has now exploded into one of the largest wildfires the Central Coast has seen in years. They're calling it the Madre Fire. And as of the latest numbers earlier today, it scorched well over 35,000 acres between Santa Maria and Cuyama. The fire kicked off near Alamo Creek Road around 1:30 p.m. yesterday, and it didn't creep, it sprinted. Dry brush, steep terrain, gusty winds helped to take off like a freight train. 166 has been closed. Firefighter crews battling flames from both air and the ground. A massive smoke column seen towering from the region, visible miles and miles in every direction. Evacuations in effect and more are likely coming. If you're in the area or even near it, now is the time to be ready. Pack a go bag, check your zone, stay alert. For SLO County, the official site to check your evac zone is readyslo.org. Santa Barbara County, it is readysbc.org. As of now, 0% containment on the Madre Fire. Stay safe and keep it to your local news spots for constant updates. I know KSBY is updating a lot. All right, getting right into our chat with Howard Blum first. I want to thank our friends at Life Elements for being Up and Adam based right here in SLOCAL, a woman minority-owned company making small batch bath, body, wellness products. Right now, their bug spray is clutch. It repels mosquitoes, ticks, safe for your kids, your dog, your skin, no harsh chemicals, no weird stickiness. I love it. Everything small batch, cruelty-free, and made with real healing in mind. In addition to their spot in A-Town, you could shop their products at The Hive in Arroyo Grande, the general store in Paso, and of course, lifeelements.com. But I say give them a visit. They're so much fun to hang out with. 7425 El Camino Real. Great people. Just great people. Lifeelements.com. Let them know you heard them on Up and Adam.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, he is a New York Times bestselling author, now his second time on the show. 2-time Pulitzer Prize nominee and the investigative mind behind When the Night Comes Falling, a requiem for the Idaho State murders. Howard Blum has been covering this case since day one, knocking on doors in Moscow, Idaho, chasing facts across state lines, weaving it all into one of the most gripping true crime narratives in recent memory. And now with Bryan Kohberger pleading guilty yesterday, this news is fresh. Howard's reporting suddenly becomes more than retrospective. It's the closest thing we really have to an understanding of this case that we may never see in a trial now. All right, look at this. Howard is back 1 year later.
Yes, older.
Right. It's great to have you back again a year after the book. Man, just incredible. Thanks for being Up and Adam, man.
It's out in paperback now, so it's good timing.
Nice. You know, look, Howard, your book already being framed as like what was like the final word on the case. I mean, it was like the quintessential reporting on this case until yesterday when Kohberger pleads guilty less than 24 hours ago. How does this plea, Howard, dropping faster than anyone expected, land with you as the author of, like we said, the quintessential reporter of the story? Does it feel like vindication or an end you didn't write? And what do you feel the public still needs to hear even now after he's accepted guilt?
Well, I think it's a very cynical, pragmatic plea deal by the state of Idaho. I was shocked by it. I was surprised by it, blindsided by it, especially since at this point, the state had everything going for it. In the weeks preceding the plea deal, the state had won two major victories. The Kohberger team had tried to get a theory going that there were alternate perpetrators involved. The other people had been involved in the killing. They had left a knife sheath in the bedroom, and Kohberger was a patsy. That's what they said in effect. And they presented their evidence to the judge, and the judge said, not so fast. This doesn't fly. You have no facts here, just allegations. You can't bring this into the courtroom. And then they had their alibi defense. They had that the Kohberger was out in the woods at 4 a.m, looking at the stars on a freezing, cloudy night. And the judge said, that's not an alibi. That's nothing. There are no witnesses. So everything was in the state's favor, and yet the state decided, enough of this, we folded.
Yeah, you know, yesterday's plea brought mixed reactions. A couple families feel relief. Some feel robbed. The division is raw. It's visible even in the courtroom. In your reporting, you capture the nuance of grief. Now with parts of the families embracing this plea, others rejecting it, what does that say about this case, also about the nature of justice?
I think you bring up a very interesting and valid point, because this ultimately, fundamentally, this is a case about not survivors, people who were murdered that night, but about victims. Everyone involved is a victim. All the families are victims. The town of Moscow, they're victims. Even the state of Idaho, and they're all left with, I believe, a sense of unfulfillment, incompleteness. They're never going to have the answers to the questions they're asking. They'll never have the answer specifically from the murderer, why their child was chosen, why he picked this house, where is the murder weapon? Did he leave the knife sheath behind as a calling card, or was this an accident? How did he able to get out of the murder scene without leaving a trail of blood on his clothes, on his apartment? All these questions are still out there, and it's on that level deeply unsatisfying. In a way, I had tried to answer these questions in my book, and I give series based on my reporting, and I think, and this I hadn't anticipated, that will be the final say on what happened. It would be the theories I presented would be the most logical discussion, but we'll never get it from the killer's mouth.
You know, I almost think of that criminology teacher who knows him at WSU.
Catherine Ransom.
Yeah, real tight that they were. And I almost wonder if maybe sometimes she's going to interview him or there's something, I feel like there's some connection there that we're going to end up seeing. Maybe he talks to her, she researches him. I don't know. But before we get into what we know about this judge, I want to ask you, because you alluded to it a second ago, Howard, what will we get next? Or what is next? Will we be able to ask him questions? You just brought up a ton of really good ones. I can think of some more. Obviously, I'm sure the impact statements are going to be rightfully brutal on him. What do we expect next?
The hearing on July 23rd, the sentencing hearing, is, as you said, they're going to be brutal, difficult to listen to, difficult to speak, statements by the families. This will be their last chance to say something, and I think they will take advantage of it. They've been extremely articulate. This Gonsalves family particularly has been angry, but yet their family members have spoken with a great deal of poignancy, and it's hard to listen to them and not have empathy for their predicament. What will the judge do? Will the judge get pro forma answers from Kohberger? Will he ask him questions? Why did you do this? Can Kohberger answer with a one-sentence explanation? Can he say anything? Will the judge tolerate that? I think at this point, yes. I think this has been a case that everyone being the state of Idaho, wants to move on. I mean, look at the record. The first judge in the case, Judge, he couldn't wait to move it to another town, and as soon as it moved out of Moscow, he retired. The police chief, James Fry, as soon as they got a suspect, he retired. Judge Hippler, on his first day in the courtroom, he says, "I'd like to say I'm happy to be here, but that would be a lie." He wants it to move on. The university decided to tear down the house where the murders occurs, hoping everything would disappear. So everyone now the prosecution, Bill Thompson, after 2.5 years, after spending $3.6 billion, according to the Idaho Statesman paper, on building his case, he decides to, all right, let's just cut a deal. I mean, it's a victory for Ann Taylor, but I think it's a defeat for the citizens and the families.
What can our listeners know, Howard, about this judge? Experience? I don't know. I mean, I was a little bit disappointed. Look, names are tough. We pronounce names on the air all the time. I hate getting them wrong. Sometimes you do, though. But it just felt like, gosh, we didn't know that we couldn't get her name right. Or I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into that too much. But what do we know about this judge, and what are they going to be likely doing during this time, pinging other people, professionals? How do you even begin to do this right?
I mean, this judge is a no-nonsense judge. And I think he would have been actually an excellent judge for this trial if the state had the will to proceed. He was very quick, and Ann Taylor kept on trying to put motions and motions forward. Interestingly, she filed 2 motions recently saying she didn't have enough discovery, enough evidence that the prosecution had given her, and she was very adamant in that. Yesterday, the judge specifically asked her, "Did you receive sufficient discovery?" And there's sort of a pregnant pause. But then she finally says, "Yes, I've received sufficient." So had she been lying or misrepresenting beforehand, or was that just a cynical lawyerly move? I don't know. So a lot of very disturbing questions that still remain out there.
Howard, what is the difference practically of death row versus the experience in living incarcerated under the punishment of life without parole? This deal spares him execution. What does that mean from day to day and how he's going to live?
The day-to-day will really be up to the warden, but I would imagine he'll be kept in some sort of isolation. However, he'll have commissary privileges. He'll be able to talk to his parents on the phone. You mentioned Dr. Ramslin, who has been his old forensic psychology professor, criminal justice professor. She was in contact with the family days after the arrest, offering her services. In the course of this case, she said she came to realize that, oh my gosh, my student was guilty. Mm-hmm. She's already professed a desire to go meet with him. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime soon down the road that she's outside the cell talking to him. I think a lot of people, Bryan Kohberger was a criminal justice student. He was arguably a good one. I think a lot of criminal justice professors will be knocking on his cell door, in effect, to see if they can speak with him. And after 3 or 4 years in jail, he might be eager for the diversion.
I think you're right. I think he's smart. I think he's articulate, and he's obviously a sociopath. And all those things are scary. And you think of time reflecting and having remorse. I just don't see that with him. In fact, I almost see like this. Did we fall into his hand with all the circumstances? Did he get the best possible outcome?
I think he got a tremendous deal. I think, what he also avoids doing is putting his parents on the stand. I think from the reporting I've been hearing recently, he was eager to prevent their having to testify. Why? At 6 a.m., approximately 2 hours after the murders or so, he makes a 58-minute call to his parents, mostly speaking with his mother, according to the reporting I received. What was said on that call? Only Bryan and his parents know. However, if they had been put on the stand, and the prosecution had been able to ask them pointed questions, we all might have known. And I think Bryan might have felt that might have put them in a situation that was in legal jeopardy. It might have incriminated them. And to keep his parents from having to go on the stand, to have to keep his father from revealing what was said during that car ride across America that they took just before Christmas vacation, as Bryan left for the break with his father. They're sitting shoulder to shoulder in a white Hyundai Elantra. Every cop in the country is looking for a white Hyundai Elantra. The father knows that his son lives 9 miles away from the murders. He knows his son has problems. There had to have been some discussion, especially during the course of that ride. As I point out in my book, they're stopped not once, but twice by Indiana State Police, allegedly on a traffic violation, to see what's going on. So it must have been a ride filled with tensions. We'll never get the inside story of that ride. I tried to, through my reporting, describe it in some detail in my book, but I'd like to hear it from the father's own words.
Wow. Well, how you're able to navigate this in real time, this story that you've been telling, dramatically changing. Howard, would love to have you on again as this keeps on evolving. Thank you for just a day later being able to come on the show and talk to the audience. Really, truly means a lot. Paperback now with one of the best books in a long, long time. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
I mean, dude's been all over national media. Awesome having him on here. The book now in paperback and truly one of the most compelling pieces of investigative storytelling out there. He really gets into it. Links to all that in the show notes. All right, tomorrow, Friday, looking forward to it. Ready for this weekend. Pink Drank. Don't forget, Pink Drank is coming up Saturday, July 12th. Win your way in, adammontiel.com, right at the homepage. Can't miss it. To purchase tickets, Pink Drank, D-R-A-N-K, pinkdrank.org. Also, it is not too early to talk about Friday. Then Two Vineyards. They have this legendary Friday concert series. So good, right in Templeton, Los Tablas Road. We're talking live music, local food trucks, award-winning wine, 360-degree vineyard views, pet-friendly, and just great people. And the wines are bomb. Check them out. You can look at links in the show notes, but go to ventwovineyards.com. You can see all the different acts that are coming from this Friday to all the way through September, October. So they just kicked this off a few weeks ago, the Ventu, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Check it out, ventwovineyards.com. Perfect Friday night little vibe sesh. All right, I want to thank our friends Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. Moonshinercollective.com. Stream them wherever you get your music. Thanks to Tamber Winery for the Tamber Lowbro Studios. Do you taste their world-class wines? Arroyo Grande in the Village. Timbre. Tamberwinery.com. Thanks to you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to the show wherever you listen to it, sharing what we do here with a friend, passing it along. Really, really helps. Thank you very much in advance. Back tomorrow. Till then, I'm Adam Montiel. Appreciate you a lot. Thanks for being up and at 'em.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.